months to go until the election of the President of the United States of America. But what do the Jews feel about this? What do the people think? Well, here in the Jewish community of Australia, the Jewish News asked a very simple question a couple of months back. Are you worried that Donald Trump will be the United States president?
He can cause a lot of trouble because he doesn't know what he's doing from day to day.
I'm worried about both. Hillary, she's not the one. And Trump, I think it's... Actually, I don't have an answer for Israel, who is the best there. That's what concerns me more.
Trumpery. Well, trumpery in the dictionary means either deception, cheating, or shoddy, meretricious, showy stuff that has little or no value.
I believe that Trump is a very dangerous man, and I'd hate to see him in a position of power like that.
And that's the kind of opinion I would have expected from a very conservative Jewish community here in Australia. But when you go outside of the country, some Jewish Australians would be shocked to hear the opinions of Jews around the world.
Personally, I believe that Donald Trump is the greatest gift that God has given the Jewish people.
Do you think he's going to be good for Israel?
I think it'd be wonderful.
Donald Trump has surrounded himself in his closest, most inner circle with people who are extremely, who are Jewy.
Hang on, let me get down here. All right, so what's the answer?
So the answer is he loves Israel and the Jews. That's racism, and I like it because we are both Israeli Jews.
Ah, cool.
So that's racism, but still we like it, right?
When I become president, the days of treating Israel like a second-class citizen will end on day one. But when the United States stands with Israel, the chances of peace really rise and rises exponentially. That's what will happen when Donald Trump is president of the United States.
I just want to greet you and say that your friendship is terrific. Australia, the government, and yours personally, and we appreciate our friends.
Yeah, Israel does really appreciate its friends because sometimes I think we haven't got that many.
Prime Minister, I'm absolutely delighted to be here in Jerusalem, and I want to take this opportunity to reaffirm our absolute enduring commitment to the State of Israel and our friendship, and invite you to come to Australia. And we're thinking there's a little window of opportunity early next year maybe, and the Australian public would warmly embrace you, welcome you.
Now, this visit would be almost of papal proportions. If Netanyahu were finally to come and grace us with his presence, the Jewish community would lap it up.
Yours would be an historic visit. So
It would be a pleasure. And you know, when somebody says, why don't you drop in for lunch sometime? And I say, okay, I'm coming.
Of course, the meeting between a foreign minister and the Prime Minister of Israel is always going to consider peace in the Middle East. And a video that was released this week by the Prime Minister's office clearly states why we have a significant problem with the Palestinian Authority.
I'm sure many of you have heard the claim that Jewish communities in Judea, Samaria, the West Bank, are an obstacle to peace. I've always been perplexed by this notion, because no one would seriously claim that the nearly 2 million Arabs living inside Israel, that they're an obstacle to peace. That's because they aren't. On the contrary, Israel's diversity shows its openness and readiness for peace. Yet the Palestinian leadership actually demands a Palestinian state with one precondition: no Jews. There's a phrase for that. It's called ethnic cleansing. And this demand is outrageous. It's even more outrageous that the world doesn't find this outrageous. Some otherwise enlightened countries even promote this outrage. Ask yourself this: would you accept ethnic cleansing in your state? A territory without Jews, without Hispanics, without blacks? Since when is bigotry a foundation for peace? At this moment, Jewish school children in Judea, Samaria are playing in sandboxes with their friends. Does their presence make peace impossible? I don't think so. I think what makes peace impossible is intolerance of others. Societies that respect all people are the ones that pursue peace. Societies that demand ethnic cleansing don't pursue peace. I envision a Middle East where young Arabs and young Jews learn together, work together, live together, side by side, in peace. Our region needs more tolerance, not less. So the next time you hear someone say, Jews can't live somewhere, let alone in their ancestral homeland, take a moment to think of the implications. Ethnic cleansing for peace is absurd. It's about time somebody said it. I just did.
And someone else here in Australia, often speaking out in support of Israel, is Andrew Bolt.
Andrew Bolt grew up in rural South Australia and stepped into journalism with a cadetship at Melbourne's broadsheet, The Age. Andrew worked for Labor during 2 of Bob Hawke's election victories before he landed his break as a columnist at News Corp.
Thank you, Andrew.
He is now watched, listened to and read by millions of Australians every week. And there's barely a person in this country who doesn't have an opinion on one of Australia's most prolific opinionators.
He proclaims loudly that he is a friend of the government. Well, with friends like Bolt, we don't need any enemies.
Sadly, the Jewish people have their enemies, so it's great to have an advocate from the non-Jewish press supporting us.
Israel condemned. But is the war in Gaza just the excuse Jew haters around the world wanted?
Andrew Bolt will tell the Australian people what he believes to be the truth.
Hamas wants this war, and it wants dead civilians to show the world, which is why it broadcasts orders to civilians to ignore Israeli army leaflets warning them to move away from homes from where Hamas deliberately chooses to fire its missiles.